the organised camping fell through because of pressure from neighbours, a decision was made then that we'd all camp here. Musgrave Park has traditionally been a place where black people congregate. We were here as an action group to promote our campaign, and our priorities were survival in the camp and statements on the street, political statements that would promote awareness and discussion about the land rights struggle, a struggle we've been waging for 200 years, and about our struggle for our basic human rights.
Just remember, all you Aboriginal and Island people, that same sun has shone on the Aboriginal and Island people in this country for 50,000 years, and it's still shining on us. May the sun shine a long, long time. You see the colours of the flag? That red, that black, that yellow? The black stands for the people and the colour of our skin, and the red is for our land and the blood that has been shed in our struggle and is still being shed. And that yellow is for the life-giving force, the sun, that unites the people and the land. And we will never be separated, the land from the people, as long as there is a sun to shine. So let the sun shine.
I'd like to first of all thank all of our black brothers and sisters from Queensland for letting us all come and visit them on their land. Joe Bajogi Peterson, I don't thank you simply because you seem to be labouring, use a word, under a misapprehension that white people discovered this country. For Joe Bajogi Peterson, for Russ Hens, for all the National Party people in Queensland, and for all those gubs in Queensland who seem to think that Captain Cook discovered Australia, I'm here to tell you it's not true. This country was discovered, explored, and settled by Aboriginal people. Yeah. Our people have been here for something like 100,000 years. And people like Joe Bajogi Peterson and his ilk forget that too easily. There are too many white people in this society today who are trying to suggest that Aboriginal people are seeking something that they're not entitled to. Well, let me tell you, Joe Bajogi Peterson and all your mates, before any white man ever set foot on this country, something like 800 million Aboriginal people had lived and died here. And as far as we're concerned, that establishes beyond all reasonable doubt prior occupancy, prior ownership of this country. And we now, after being invaded, after being subjected to the sort of massacres and brutality that continues in Australia today, we now say we want justice. We want land rights. Land rights is important for the survival of Aboriginal people. Land rights is vital for the survival of Aboriginal people.
So it's serious business what we're doing here. We're not mucking around. We come a long way, a lot of us here, and the Brisbane blacks and the Queensland blacks are real strong, and we're going to support them. And what we're doing here is serious business for the history of persecution of the Queensland government.
This society that's around us here today, see all them big buildings and all that stuff? Those are symbols of what this society truly believes in. Those are symbols of what this society truly worships. They tell us that this society that's been imposed upon us is a Christian society, and they worship God. That's crap. The type of society that exists in this state and all through white Australia is a society that worships money. And if Aboriginal people Aboriginal people are to survive with their cultural integrity intact, then we must deal with the white man on equal terms, and that's what land rights in one sense means. It means the ability of Aboriginal people to have economic independence, because when we've got economic independence, we don't have to go crawling to no Department of Aboriginal Affairs. We don't have to go to Canberra with our caps in our hands and suck into the bureaucrats, because then we've got our own money. We generate our own money. And generating our own money is the only way that we are going to be able to exercise true self-determination in this society. The churches must start giving black people land to use as community resources. 4 years ago, when we first set up the Australian Council of Churches Aboriginal Advisory Group, every man and his dog in the churches was there saying, yes, our church will think about giving Aboriginals some of our land. We still haven't got any. And we say to the churches, we can't trust you any more than we can trust Joe Bajoki Peterson until you put your money where your mouth is.
There is no doubt in our minds this struggle will continue, and there is only one end to the Aboriginal struggle. There can only be one end, and that is the recognition of meaningful Aboriginal land rights. That is the only end that Aboriginal and Island people can consider. It would not be worthy of us to settle for anything less, and we will not.
Do you think the protests of the Games are going to have any positive effect as far as getting Joe in particular to get off his...
Well, that won't be up to us. I think that other heads of state, other people from other countries who have to demean themselves to deal with such a racist country as Australia, I think that they are the ones who will be forced to do something about their own image. I mean, not everybody's prepared to lower themselves to Fraser and Joe's level, and least of all, us, the Aborigines.
So what you're saying is that the change is going to come from the outside?
No.
I mean,
I'm saying that they will be able to put a lot of pressure on.
Right.
But nobody else can fight our battle for us. Right. They can stand beside us, but they cannot fight for us. Nobody else will suffer instead of us. Yeah. They can suffer with us. Nobody else will protest instead of us. They might protest with us, but nobody else will do it instead of us.
They tell you that you can peace. They watch you like dogs on eat and justifiable police. You gotta watch yourself, you gotta protect yourself from the police. They told you they blue. They'll kick you in the head until they kick you dead. You gotta watch yourself, you gotta protect yourself from the police. The waves on the power,
stop these demonstrations, defuse everything that's going on here. He's been too gutless to use it. That, for the benefit of the media that's here, that for the benefit of our brother from the Queensland Special Branch, and that for the benefit of the people over there, is why we're demonstrating today. Land rights now! Land rights now! Land rights now! Land rights now! Land rights now!
Special branch.
Don't do that again or I'll lock you up.
Don't push, Smoker. Get it cool.
You're on our film now, mate.
In Queensland, they've set up these reserves, Aboriginal reserves. Well, in actual fact, they're concentration camps. People are not allowed to leave without a permit, not allowed to go back in without a permit. They work for substandard wages. There's entry to their houses is just whenever the manager or the white or black police think that, you know, they just do it. It's very oppressive. The Act itself breaks a large number of the conventions under the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights. In fact, it breaks more than the Apartheid Act in South Africa. And what we are saying here is that because the world has shunned South Africa, that they should also shun Australia, because we have a more racist piece of legislation in this state, and there's also racist legislation throughout the whole country. They're a thing of the past. We refuse to live under them. That's why we're here. We want them repealed. We want land rights. We want our independence. We want to be self-determined. And we don't want people running our affairs, giving us so-called protection.
Would anyone like to get their photo taken by the police officers? Just move down here. Would anyone like to get their photos taken by the police officers? Would they just move down here? Cook. Captain Cook. People have boys around there going to see.
31 points, some take them over to the legal kennel or up there. Please, thank you.
There was a group formed in Musgrave Park which we call the National Black Unity Group, a fairly loosely formed committee
We'll make you a sandwich, okay?
that began from the time the tents went up here, I guess, and operated very effectively during the last 2 weeks. It was a group which didn't have time for internal fighting. It didn't have time to develop leadership. There was a few of us who came into a position of being spokespeople, but any decisions that were made about what action we were going to take about the functioning of things in the camp or on the streets, those decisions were made by all the people here. That we were very, very aware of the dangers of a leadership situation developing. And I think the whole group worked together really well to make sure that we didn't fall into the trap of having a leadership.
You fellas have to give me a go, because I've battled so hard to get the money. Yeah, well, and yes, that money is going to be stopped today because of what Sugar has made a statement, you see.
What?
Well, Sugar made a statement.
What's this?
Read that.
Well, there was a statement by Sugar which was threatened for our 2 more illegal marches.
Could we have all the marshals up here now, please?
I mean, that's not what's a legal march for Sugar. The thing is, You know, I mean, you can take notice of paper and you can disregard that, thing like that. But what do I do to talk to, you know, what do I talk with to make some sense? Would I go against my own NAC member, fight against my NAC member?
Well, this is not even right because we've never discussed anything about no march at all.
Yeah, sure. But one of the things that we've got to decide now, whether we
Can
want
we have all the marshals up here now, please?
One of the things we decide now, we want a festival or an illegal march. We've got choice, our choice. I mean, the thing is,
This is, well,
Go on now,
we know.
Tell me what you want.
No, we know this for the black thing, but we've got to talk about this. You know, we didn't want any sort of press. We just got to have a little.
What is it?
It's right, Steve. This was a Murray's film thing.
This is the Murray's one.
See, a lot of people here know that we put it on the minister for $20,000 for a festival here. And they give us $10,000, or they said they were going to give us $10,000. Now, because of a statement that Sugar Ray made in the papers this morning to say there's going to be illegal marches, he's blackmailing us again. You know, so if that's the case, we already have decided that we will march, and that all before, ever since we've been here. So we're being blackmailed again, and let him keep his $10,000 then. We will decide what we're going to do here. We've been living here for the last week without any of his money, and we can still keep on doing it.
What the problem is here is there's too much media outside. They should come to the park. We've been saying, set up an Aboriginal land rights fucking embassy here, and no one's made an attempt. And that all the media is brought here to speak from it here. Not all the offshoots, just like you said. Sugar's made a thing that stopped the $10,000. And you've got other people making things to the fucking media, except the people here.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that's come out of this is that the grassroots people, the people who have had no say earlier, the people who had to depend on their leaders to tell them what to do, have showed that we can do it on our own, that we've made it on our own, that this whole setup has been just that, poor grassroots people, blacks who are really struggling for land rights. And I think that's the most important thing that has happened here, and we're going to make that an ongoing thing.
This showed that our people, with a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of respect, we can get together and we can organise ourselves in whatever we want to do, how we want to do it.
We've proved that people are the strength and people will make the revolution. We don't have to rely on putting up figureheads, that the people will do it.
We can sit down and we can do it in a traditional way. That's one of, maybe, you know, we get heaps put on them because we call a lot of things, you know, and that even Victorian, the Kooris, they're trying to phase us out, and they reckon there's no Kooris there, and they won't give us title to land because we're not full-blooded Aboriginals, as they say. But we got our tradition and our spiritual feelings for our land, and we here, the thing about it is we use one of them traditions in coming in a consensus of opinion. No one had sole control of it. No individual had the power that separated and parted people. Everybody put in.
So the only way we're going to embarrass the state government and the federal government is to have the police use violence on us. And the only way we're going to do that is by taking to the streets.
There's media.
No, we have to get together. The executive get together. There's too many Migloos here. And sometimes I think there's a black traitor in the camp.
Yeah, the music that Babu Mamus plays, it comes from the experience of living in Brisbane.
Now
What we wanted to do was to give the young black community some direction in forms of non-violent action, because most of our youth spend time in detention centres when they're at the age of 14 and 15, then go on from there. It's a process in going from these child detention centres to Bogger Road. And what we wanted to do was to let our young brothers and sisters know, and their families know, was that you can do constructive situations with yourselves. If there's a group wanting to do things in your community, then get it together in a constructive way. That's mainly what we wanted to do.
Now we raised, $3 grand per bus. That's what it cost. Now we never did that for nothing. We come down here for results. Now if we have to march tomorrow, and it's an illegal march, well, I don't give a damn personally. And all these little petty politicians, politicking with each other and trying to take down the system and justify the system, I'm afraid that's not good enough for us. Because we are here, and whatever we decided on, which is what happened last night, we will abide by, and we are going to march. Tomorrow, we are going to march. We're not worried about getting our heads kicked in or getting a bullet in the head. I just left my 3 children to come down here, and I want results. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm a mother of children, and I tell you what, my children will get it better, as far as I'm concerned, than what I've got it.
The thing that I am trying to say is that we try and keep it together, that we do own this land. We have now an oppressive law, which is a Commonwealth Games bill on top of us, which takes away our basic human rights. Now our people on the reserves had their basic human rights taken away from them, and we must do something about it. We have tried to talk. The NAC has tried to talk. The other people on the reserves, such as the Aboriginal Advisory Council, have been talking, and not one of them are recognised and understood or accepted by the people. Now we must do something about it, and I'm speaking for the people up there on the reserves, and I want to be able to do something about it, and I think there's a lot of people behind me, and I think we should have a vote here today whether we're going to do it or not and clear it up instead of the arguments.
Those persons are participating in an unlawful procession. No permit has been issued by the District Superintendent of Traffic for a procession on this road on this date. The District Superintendent of Traffic of the State of Queensland, I now prohibit the holding of this procession and direct all persons taking part in this procession to discontinue doing so immediately and to disperse forthwith.
I will inform them that our intentions are to peacefully picket at the QE2 gates. If we have to move, if we are not allowed to, perhaps we can all just sit down where we are. If we're allowed to go to the QE2 gates, we can move to the footpath. We'll compromise on that. Is that okay with everybody? As long as we're allowed to go to the QE2 gates and peacefully picket.
Move out of the way, please.
Well, I felt that there should be more people sitting out there in the front row, and unfortunately I had to abandon my part in the camera crew, in the film crew, and go and sit there. And of course many others followed almost immediately after.
the way, please. Road, please. Move up further, please. What happened to the road, please? What happened to the road? Right, ignore the filming from here. You can do it until the helicopters, you can do it from the road.
And individually dispersed, please. Overnight through this marching out. The marshals are going to disperse. We have enough people arrested here. We don't want no more confrontation. And we shall endeavour to take up Australia. Shame on Australia. Shame on Australia. Shame on Australia. Shame on What do we want? Land rights! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Land rights! When do we want it? Now! What do we got? Black hole! What do we got? Black hole! How much we got? Black hole! What do we want? Land rights! Demand the right to demonstrate! Queensland Police State! Demand the right to demonstrate!
Move over the medium strip, please. Move over the medium strip.
Give us our land. All we are saying is give us our land. All we are saying is give us our land. All we are saying is give us our land.
See me or Pam Jones from Sarah? We need bail money. We need cash for bail money. At least 9 people have been arrested. Maureen Watson has been arrested. Bob Weatherall, Les Melzer, Ross Watson. Who owns this? Jamira owns from Victoria.
Billy, is that yours?
What's the name? Well, all I know is her name's Donna, and she's from Victoria. I've got her here. Yeah, Donna. Yeah, she's not a child money. Try to find it. Here are the names that we've got. Here are the names of the people arrested. Is this yours or yours? Why she's got enough money?
Right, we'll go to South America now.
No, each arresting officer will be typing out an individual charge for each person.
In town?
In town, and that's cleared by prosecution.
They started doing that yet?
Yes. They've assured us that it should be more than an hour.
5 o'clock, they should be pretty well all out.
The bail's been set at $50 for disobeying a lawful direction, $50 for unlawful procession, $50 for assaulting police, and then there's a list of resisting police, obstructing police, 30, 25, inciting to aid or resist, 50, inciting to aid or obstruct, 25, obscene language, 30, and so on. So it just depends for each individual person what they've been charged with.
As far as this protest with the Commonwealth Games goes, you know, it is the beginning. I mean, certainly we don't want any trouble. What we're here to do is to bring the attention of the world to focus on the injustice that we suffer. And as I've said before, you know, we can't compromise and change our justice to suit their unjust laws.
Want to put us down, eh?
Typical propaganda to put down the black people, trying to discredit them.
Drunken, disorderly southern black troublemakers.
Queensland people immediately relate a gathering of Aborigines with alcohol in Queensland, and people who make statements like this should be more accountable to the courts of Queensland than the 39 people arrested yesterday.
But it doesn't matter, you know, what they come out with, what racism or what police sensationalism they come out with. They can't take away the reality of what is happening. That Aboriginal people have come together from all over Australia, from the Torres Straits right down to Tasmania.
That's right. WA
we have come, Western Australia, Darwin, Alice Springs, Mount Isa, you name it, they've got it.
They've come
Little
from all
western
over
country
Australia.
towns, you know. We have come together, and we are showing that we won't accept this injustice.
Right, we came up here to Brisbane from Tasmania to show the Aboriginal people in Australia that we were with them for their fight for land rights,
that we also are against what's happening in Queensland here with the Queensland Act and the Games Act, and we just want to show our solidarity with them and to show that Tasmania also, as Aboriginal people down there, and we have a land rights struggle as well, and to make all of Australia aware of what's going on down there too.
Well, he asked me if I pleaded guilty or not guilty. I said that I may be guilty under the white man's law, but not under the black man's law. And I have a right to walk on my own earth, and the bugger came out and just said, well, you're remanded to the 2nd of December. It looks like what they're trying to do is to hang on to all Aboriginal money at this time. They're not going to let it get out again. So they want their money so they can buy new battens probably and employ new bloody police and things like that to bugger up any kind of protest. So,
in every state, people who came up here not only came up solidarity with Queensland government because they are the most racist state in when it comes to legislation and things, but when it comes to just acting upon people, every state has its racism. Every state has its apathy towards the Aboriginal question. In Victoria, we've got land claims going in. We've only, at the moment, got 2 land titles, and that caters for only 200 Aboriginal people. But we've got 14,000 and more, we feel. People in New South Wales, where we come from, Neville Rand promised 2 years ago that he'd give us land rights. Now on Cumragunja, our reserve, it is in the most pitiful position that you'll ever see. It's on par with any reserve that you'll find in Northern Territory or Queensland. We have got inadequate water supply. We've got, they put a brand new sewage system in, but we can't flush the damn stuff away. So we've got it in the streets. We've got people dying on our reserves. So I think it showed that if all Koori people get together, that we can fight against it as a common enemy, not being drawn into state things as what the government likes us to do.
We should forget about talking about the states and whatever, when we talk about our tribes. I'm a Yorta tribe, Monica and I. And that's our boundaries. And our boundaries go over the introduced borders of New South Wales and Victoria. And we're going to fight both state governments on land claims. We'll do it so deadly that we're going to confuse them. You know, we're going to confuse them. They think they're confusing us now, but they had their chance. They had their chance to do whatever they wanted to do. Rand had a chance. It was 8 years. 8 years ago on his election platform that he promised a freehold title to the land. Now he's a bigger multinational than Joby Peterson and Hancock and them all put together, a supporter of multinationals. But he's a very smooth media man where he uses the media, but he hasn't fooled us.
And maybe this afternoon people might have an idea. I don't think anything big's going to happen today. It might. I could be wrong. I mean, we want to keep the media. The media is important to us. It saves us from getting the shit kicked out of us on the streets with no witnesses.
Important announcement to make now. But before I make that announcement, I want to tell you why it was kept from you. The announcement was we kept it from you because we had to protect 12 of our brothers and sisters who are at this very moment sitting in QE2 Stadium. But we managed to get them in there. They're going to be pretty soon getting up there and waving the flag and singing for us. The majority of those brothers and sisters are in there are Queenslanders too. So what I want to make the announcement now is that we've got to get out there and we've got to help and be out there and help our brothers and sisters who are in the stadium.
We probably won't get everything we want just because of making this stand, but our people are brave enough to do it, and we should get out there and we should support them. Whoever wants to go out there now, it's an individual decision. Everyone do it individually, but we can do it together. Whoever wants to go out, can we all have cars up there and start moving out there now?
Please remember that we're going to conduct ourselves peacefully and reasonably and with dignity.
Would you like to
We're the ones who took the land. We're the ones who say that they get what they want, get what they're asking.
Come here. Read about it. Sorry?
No.
We're just giving this out. We're not stopping people from going and going. We'd just like them to read that. The state government that's putting on this thing is by multinationals, and they deny our people the right to earn award wages on missions in this place. None of our people can buy even for our land in this state here. All over the state, our people have got no land rights. Yeah. Read about our struggle. The people that you think have disappeared in this country, but we're still here strong, and we'll still be here tomorrow strong. You won't beat us. Maybe it's not you, maybe it's people who mislead you and confuse you about our struggle. Our struggle will help you eventually.
What do you want? Land rights. When do you want them?
Now.
What do you want?
Land rights.
When do you want them?
Now.
What do you want?
Land rights.
When do you want them?
Now.
What do you want?
Land rights.
When do you want them?
Now.
What do you want?
Land rights.
When do you want them?
Now.
What do you want?
Land rights.
When do you want them?
Now.
What do you got? We got pigs that stand over black people daily in this state.
You see the oppression? You can
They
see the
love
oppression
doing
when
it,
black people can't even
they
demonstrate
love
freedom
bashing
to
niggers.
voice their opinion against the
Bong bashing, it's called up in the
this
northern
country.
towns, and most of them come from up there. They've been specially
200
imported
years of genocide.
to control us.
And we're sick of it.
We can control ourselves.
So I think
We
you
don't
should
need
look
them.
past the uniform and try to see their faces, because you're going to run up against them again in later years. They're only young boys, except for the sergeant.
We don't need no racist police officer coming to arresting us over racist legality. No, what do we want?
Land rights.
What do we want?
Land rights.
What do we want?
Land rights.
You are unintelligent. Don't call us unintelligent. You are the downtrodden people. We are not, we are frauds. What do we want?
Land rights.
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 You are the peas. You know what we do in the toilet? What do we want?
Land rights.
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 What do we want?
I'm causing a demonstration, and for that reason, I am not prepared to let you in.
I have paid for a ticket and I will go in there to purposely watch the games and to look at international athletes and to enjoy that.
Under the Commonwealth Games Act, I have
Which isn't federal.
It's a state act, which
State act, which isn't, but I thought it was, I thought they were the Commonwealth Games and not the Queensland Games.
sworn by law to
Not the federal law.
What are you denying them? The right.
A state law.
What do we want? Tickets. Show them the tickets, brothers and sisters. Show them.
Right.
What do we want?
Final of the women's 400 metres. Flag in the background. And away, good even break. Raylene got out pretty fast in a raw, split the air at QE2 as McDonald leads them away from Griffith. Then it's back to Scott, one of the big chances, followed by Crooks. Then Robertson and Boyle down pretty fast as she goes into the back straight, and she's got a few of them covered over on the outside. Point Smith's doing well in lane one, and she's probably going to be hard to beat. 220 metres to go in the women's 400. It's McDonald of Scotland in front. All Boyle's run a tremendous first 200. I hope she hasn't run a race. She's pulled through to the front. Point Smith coming through on the inside. 120 metres to go. Raylene Boyle's going to straighten up in front of Point Smith and Scott. She's got less than 100 metres to go. It's Boyle in front. The crowd going absolutely berserk. Raylene Boyle in front. I think she's got it won. She's 5 or 6 metres clear. Raylene Boyle's got the gold medal. Her 7th Commonwealth Games. What a moment.
Oh, just own this up for our land, that's all. Did I do anything against your law? No. Just by singing out the land. No.
That's right, all right.
Anyone got anything to drink back there?
No, I don't think I have. Is there any drink back there? No.
This is fantastic, this 3 layers coming up. Is that how you worked it out?
Yeah, that's the way we wanted it, and it's working out beautiful. Keep the coppers on their toes.
How many people coming?
I don't know how many more people are coming, but this is, actually more people come than what we expected. Great.
Pretty solid, eh?
Yeah, we're all behind each other. We're all supporting our brothers who are up there in the stands. It's incredible. It's fantastic.
Move out of the way, please. Move out of the way, fellas, please.
Why does the guy need protection?
What a white man does, sells his own people there.
The Guniwaya! He's cut us off. I don't know where they expect us. The Guniwaya now. They've cut off our electricity and they've cut off the plumbing. A trade union movement.
Yeah.
And well, these bastards come down there and they cut our thing out. They're frightened of us. We're too strong. So is the government. They have to go and get what? And guard for Guniwaya Peterson and guard for Malcolm Fraser. And he stands up there at the Greek Club and won't come down and see us, who are lying in the filth that they brought to the fucking country, and now we got no bloody toilet.
They can raid at any time under the Health Act, and maybe that, maybe they will be here tonight. The police may come back here tonight because they've got a reason there. They can come into anybody's house under the Health Act.
Well, there's been two kinds of harassment as far as the police are concerned, because they drive along the streets in cars, 6 and 7 cars. They park over the other side of the road, just up the back up here. So they just sit there and the people just don't know what to expect from them.
When you camp in the grounds with all your people, when you see the police cars cruising around, when you hear the comments, when you camp and have a white person threaten to come back with a shotgun because you camped in the church grounds, he was a nice Christian. When you see it firsthand, then you can pass it on. It's not like seeing it in the media. You know it's the truth, and it makes you strong for what you have to do to change that. So we can take that home to our people and say, look, it's right, and things need changing up there, the same as they do down here and everywhere else for Aboriginal people.
Wednesday morning about 2 o'clock, 20 carloads of police came screaming in through this camp with sirens blaring, blue lights flashing, and arrested 2 kids for no apparent reason. They reckon they'd knocked a car off or something. A tent was knocked down, and just lucky that no one was hurt.
Our kids, 1/3 of our kids are in institutions or substitute care with foster parents or adopted parents. It's one of great concern. It's another in the long list of our accusations of oppression in this country that back up our accusations that we can have such large numbers of our people inside jails, because it just proves that there's one law for the whites and one law for the blacks. During the Nuremberg trials, they formed a definition of genocide, and one of those definitions was the removal of children and taking them to faraway places. And that's happening all over Australia today. Genocide is being perpetrated upon our people. We will go to the International Court and we will charge these people with genocide.
So how long have you been held in here?
I've been in there since 2:30 this afternoon.
And what's it been like?
It's been hell.
Why?
The cell they first placed us in was a shower block. There were 17 women in that cell. We complained about the ground, the floor in the cell being wet. They moved us. They put us in between two doors in a passageway and held us there for about an hour and a half before they put us through a charge. Then they put us back into a second cell. And in that time, there was a girl who has diabetes who'd asked a number of times for chocolate or sugar. She's only just been now given that, and she's about to be bailed.
Do you know what was wrong with the chap who's just been taken away in the ambulance?
All I know is that they think he has appendicitis.
Was he given contact?
He probably waited 20 minutes before they did anything for him too.
Do you know what you've been charged with, sir?
I've been charged with Section 12 of the Games Act, which covers a number of things, but I believe it's because they believed I was there to upset the games today. I had a ticket to enter those games, along with a number of other people who were refused entry, and then just arrested and brought here.
Hey, good one. Hey, is that? Oh, good one.
They got a finely tuned, mechanised system there that still oppress our people mentally and even physically, you know, because our people still getting bashed and murdered in jail cells.
The Paul is our legal service solicitor, and that's probably why I'll be the only white person to address us on at our meetings. Thanks, Ross. You'll appreciate that I find it a lot easier to speak in court than I do to speak to a large crowd of people like this. Can everybody hear me all right? Yeah, right? Right up close. Right, well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for their patience last night in the watch house, and I found it very difficult to keep my head going there with all the noise and all the confusion and worry about the money and that. And it was amazing to get so much money. But I don't know that you can count on so much money every time. What happened last night was that the legal service field officers were able to get on to Triple Z and other people and Farah, and everybody did a lot of work last night to get money. And we started out at the beginning of the night with about $1,400 or something, and we had to get about 12,000. And I really didn't believe at the beginning of the night that it would have been possible. And I think you ought to look at this, that the depth and strength of the land rights movement can be measured in the fact that you raised about $11,000 in a few hours last night.
I think it's also important for all these media people here in particular to just cast their minds back about 6 months or so. And let's just think about and reflect on some of the things that Joe Bajogi Peterson and Russ Hines were saying prior to the Commonwealth Games. Let us not forget the stories of the Libyan terrorist plot that was manufactured by Joe Bajogi Peterson. Let us not forget the stories of the secret armies being trained back at Cairns, which were also manufactured by Joe Bajogi Peterson. Let us not also forget the predictions of violent confrontation that were made by Russ Hines and Joe Bajogi Peterson. And let us say to all of the people in the world through this media here today, let us say to them that we have proven the fascists in the Queensland government to be wrong. We've proven that we as people are capable of making our point in a peaceful and dignified manner. Not only that, Joe Bajogi Peterson 3 or 4 months ago was saying that the media, the international media, was not paying attention to the Aboriginal protesters in Brisbane. Well, have a look here, Joe Bajogi Peterson, see for yourself. Let us look at the media coverage that we got.
throughout the world in the last 2 weeks. Newsweek magazine the other day, big article, lots of stuff throughout the media. We came to Brisbane 2 weeks ago, making it very clear that the reason we were here was not to disrupt the games themselves. We were not here to provoke violent confrontation with the Queensland Police or anyone else. We came here to attract the attention of the international media and make people throughout the world aware of the oppression that continues to take place against Aboriginal people in this country. And as far as that's concerned, we have succeeded beyond our wildest dreams. If you do not disperse immediately, you will be arrested.
The legal service applied for a permit. They contacted a number of people, the Commissioner, the Assistant Commissioner, Members of Parliament, and we were refused a permit on that day to march in the city area. They didn't give any reason. They just stated that they had previously said that they were not giving any more permits to march. At the first protest, the police arrested 39 people. It cost around $1,400 in bail money. When they appeared in court the next morning, the $50 bail was ordered by the magistrate to be put forward to the fine, and that happened in every case. When the 113 were arrested outside the stadium gates, there was $14,000 bail. And when the 228 were arrested here in the city, it was another $30,000 bail, adding up to a total of nearly $60,000 in bail money, which went to the government.
No.
We forced the government to back down on the march laws. We exposed the government, the hysteria they generated early in the year about the threat of violence. We exposed that as being nothing more than hysterical threats. We did that by conducting ourselves in a reasonable way.
Get up on the footpath now.
I think the fact that so many blacks came together and the fact that our children took part, the fact that there was no violence, and how the black community in Brisbane supported us, I think is an indication of the success we had and also of the support that we have through the total community.
What do we want? Land rights. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Land rights. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Land rights.
Well, what happened to me was I got a whole lot of abuse from a bunch of male police officers about not being a fit mother and not being fit to have children, etc. And comments about my intelligence, which were quite charming. I saw quite a few of the other people. They said that one van has already been processed, so they're waiting in the cells. And the people I talked to were from the second van. So
what was your charge?
I had two charges. Disobey a legal direction and taking part in an unlawful procession, and they set bail at $70 per charge.
We all forwarded.
Be quiet, eh?
Right? Ross was there. He might have.
He went to court.
I think Ross fronted up.
He was there.
They're going to experiment with a few Queenslanders to see what happens to the rest of the charges anyways, aren't they?
Yeah, like there's a few of them are going to get into it. Plead not guilty and go all the way, see what happens.
Hurry up.
Shit.
It's not going to go
we're not far around.
Quick, the balloon's going.
Here goes the pig.
I think the whole thing about it was the spontaneity and the way that people stepped forward and contributed resources, time, energy, and just by taking part in the activities here, being part of the group, I think it helped make the group function a lot easier and made the whole protest campaign a lot more successful. It was a fairly total experience from the black community in Brisbane and from interstate.
We aim to stay together down there as a close-knit group, rallying group, and say, for example, one of the things talking with our Tasmanian brothers and sisters is that in the future, and pretty soon we hope, that they're going to stage some land rights rally there, and we're just going to get on, get our bus and swim across the strait and go and join them, you know, support them in the struggle. Because Tasmania, we believe, would be a very important, say, not only to our people, but a media thing, which will blow all their myths about the last Tasmanians and whatever, you know.
Next one.